Okay. Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Putale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Kauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Tarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today what we will do is we'll start with the first chapter. So I'm sure everybody, did you all take up the orientation quiz, day 0 quiz? Could you please confirm? Could you please confirm if you have taken the day 0 quiz?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you. Just give me a moment. I am also on my mobile, so in case of any power cut or something, I'm always connected on the mobile also. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm available otherwise also.
Recording.
Thank you. Is it my voice? I believe it's not echoing for anybody. Can you please confirm if it's echoing for anybody? Okay,
It's fine
thank
now.
you. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay. So people, did you take the day 0 quiz yesterday? You can probably type yes or no on the chat box if you had any difficulties on that. Okay, I can see many people saying yes. It was easy, right? So it was easy, and then like the questions were very simple. And I think that is the way even the questions for the chapters would be. It would not be complicated, it would be very simple. And it will be straightforward questions which will be asked. See, we are not testing you that you have, whether you read it, whether you have known it. No, we are just trying to see that you understood the message that we are giving you as part of the class. And without test or without exams, I'm sure we are not going to be focusing on things. So we are all youngsters and we are all people who do not like the exams as such, but then like it is good to have so that we get to understand things better. Okay, we'll go to the classes today. So we'll start with the 18 days Bhagavad Gita courses from today. Starting today for the next 18 days, we will do one chapter every day. And each chapter we will give you the overall crux of it. Just give you the on a high level message of what is being communicated in that chapter. How do we take it to our real life? We will try to cover some of the topics which are specifically designed for youth. Say today we will try to see whether we can do the IQ, EQ and SQ quotient, a personality development course, which I would probably take it in the last 20 to 25 minutes. So I'll try to complete the first chapter in the first 30-35 minutes, and then we will take another 25-30 minutes for the IQ, EQ, the personality development. If you're not able to complete it today, I will try to push it for tomorrow also. So we'll do it in 2 days and we will complete it. Okay. So how many of you know the person in the photograph that you're seeing? Can you please tell me who's this? No, I think someone has messaged whether you missed something. No, you haven't missed anything. But can you please tell me who's this? Okay, this is Srila Prabhupada ji. So he is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Okay, so we will just give you a brief introduction of what ISKCON is. How did Prabhupada, who is Prabhupada? How did he find, how he became the founder of ISKCON? How we built ISKCON together. So we'll just give you a short introduction about Sri Prabhupada. See, this is Prabhupada in USA, and then like in different parts of the world. He's been traveling throughout the world with the message of Krishna, with the message of Gita, and spreading the Krishna consciousness across the globe. And you know today that ISKCON is almost in every country that you can think of. And ISKCON is, we've got followers and devotees all over the world. And all over the world, people have started accepting Krishna, and they've realized the importance, and they realized the way the Gita has been teaching people the right way to live. Okay, so and people, you can see the way people are enjoying you. Okay, so just to give you an overall picture of it. Okay, so on the left extreme, you see Srila Prabhupada, who is a kid who has a child. He was born, and they lived in a reasonable family, and then he moved from there. He met his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then he got inspired by him, and he got associated with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then he slowly moved to he also joined the Gaudiya Matha, and from the Gaudiya Matha he started preaching about Krishna. And as he was preaching about Krishna, his master told him that you have to go and spread the message of Krishna consciousness throughout the world. See, Prabhupada was around 66 years old when he started the Krishna consciousness movement. So until then, he tried many things. He was in India. He was trying to do multiple things to spread the message of Krishna. But we people being we did not accept the message coming from a person, a sadhu in our society. So when that thing happened, and Prabhupada thought it is good to take the message global and then come back to India and give the same message back to the people of India. So that's when he decided, and he moved in 1965. He moved to USA, and you can see it is a cargo ship in which he moved. He had only a box and a few books of books he had written, Bhagavadgita that he had written, and he had taken all of them together to USA. He was on a cargo ship. He did not have money to go on the cargo ship. He was sponsored by one of the devotees, and he reached USA. And when he reached USA, all that he did was he sat on a park and he started chanting Mahamantra, ISKCON Mahamantra. So the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This was the mantra that he was chanting, and slowly he could see some more people were coming closer to him, people were getting associated with him, and the whole journey of ISKCON started. I think someone's mic is unmuted. Can you please check? Please have a check on your mic. I haven't muted everybody. So if you have, any of you have your mic unmuted, please make sure that you mute yourself. Okay. Yeah. So then slowly when Prabhupada started traveling across the world and started spreading the message of ISKCON throughout the world. So here you see Prabhupada with various international leaders. Okay, so he has been, his message has been going to everybody, and there are very lot of international leaderships which also came together with Prabhupada and started. They also wanted Prabhupada to be in their country, start ISKCON temples in their country, spread the message of Krishna across the world, across the in their countries, and it started and it continued together. I think that someone's mic is unmuted. Can you please check? Okay, and on the right side you can see there were so many numerous books which Prabhupada himself had written. So Prabhupada used to do the preaching in the morning, and the whole night he used to write. He wrote so many numerous books. So, and all those books there are countless books on Krishna published by ISKCON today. And there are so many books written by Prabhupada himself, and they've been read by all the devotees. And there's a separate Bhakti BBT, which is a separate publication division with the of ISKCON, and they do the publication of all these books. And it's all again indirectly connected to ISKCON, but there are two separate divisions. There's a publication division, there is ISKCON. So these two things go together, but they are separate organizations in such. Okay, so we'll just play the small video clip to tell you like how Prabhupada started his journey and from where he started and how he traveled throughout.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
So did you see that? So beautiful, right? So between 1965 and 1977, he has covered almost the whole world. So that's the kind of personality Srila Prabhupada was. So he has traveled across the world, and across the world he has taken the message of Krishna. And today we see that Krishna consciousness is spread across the world, and that's how we get so many devotees. And the first few devotees who came back to India and who were trying to, with Prabhupada and spread the message of Krishna consciousness, were all foreigners. So imagine like the message of Gita, which was spoken by the Lord himself, Krishna at Kurukshetra in India, was taken from India to the world, and the people around the world will come back to the same country where the Gita was spoken, and they are now teaching us the Krishna consciousness. So see, we were sometimes I just think like how foolish we are that we did not take the message directly, and we have sent the message, and rather than we giving the message to the whole world, I think the whole world is now getting back and giving us the same message. Don't you think that is something which is actually strange? Prabhupada took the message from here, gave it to the world, and the world is again giving back the same message back to us. So that's the way we are, and I think that's the way we need to change. And that's one purpose that we have taken up through the ISKCON Mangaluru, that the message of Krishna reaches everybody in India. And so like we'll urge all you people to help us in spreading this message across all people in the country, and like all your friends, family members, whoever wants to understand and they may make more meaning of their life and in their life. I think they should be going through the Gita courses. To please refer as much as possible. So here is Sri Sri Radha Govinda, our temple deities at ISKCON Mangaluru. So we already gave you the location for the location for the temple. The temple is open. Anybody who lives in Karnataka, close to Mangalore, who wants to visit, you can always visit. Okay, so what is Bhagavad Gita? So can you please type on your chat or like unmute yourself and say like, what do you understand as Bhagavad Gita? Guys, you'll have to make it interactive. Okay. Am I audible? I don't see anything here. Okay. So the positive way that Krishna shows, yes. So how many of you think Bhagavad Gita is just a spiritual book? Do you think Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual book? That's right. Bhagavad Gita is not something that we need to consider as a spiritual book. Yes, it is what was spoken by Shri Krishna, and we associated Shri Krishna with only Hinduism. But Bhagavad Gita is something much, much more than that. It is a dictionary. It is we should actually call it an user manual for the life. It is more a user manual to the life. So like whenever you buy any of the electronic or any gadget you buy, you get a user manual to it. And it always says how to use it in the right way. So Bhagavad Gita is something that is a user manual to the life, and which says how to live life the right way. Okay, so it's a user manual. It's a guide to the life. I think someone clearly pointed out, Mayank. It's a guide to live a perfect life. That's right. So this is Mahatma Gandhi's words. Bhagavad Gita is an epic scripture that has the answers to all our problems. It was considered a spiritual dictionary by Mahatma Gandhi, and it is a book of inspiration for many readers across the planet. So yesterday someone asked, is it like Bhagavad Gita will be able to predict everything? It doesn't predict everything, but the cancer is on the slide. So like it has answers to all our problems. So why do we want predictions to be done for the future? We only fear because there'll be some problems in the future. So when there are problems, we should be prepared. We can be well prepared for the problems. That's right. We are only looking at the problems, and because we don't want problems in the future. We want the predictions of the future to come ahead, and we want to predict everything as much as possible and try to be prepared for it. I think, what if you're prepared for all the problems? What do you expect problems every day? You don't need predictions at all, right? And or if you know that whatever problem comes, this is how I'm going to handle it, then automatically problems get solved. That's right, no? How many of you agree with that? Guys, you'll have to be a little more active on the chat so that I'm also motivated. I see people raising hands. That's nice. That's the other way. That's nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so we again have when Mahatma Gandhi was asked like the way about to give an understanding of Gita. He said those who meditate on the Gita will deserve fresh joy and new meanings from every day. So like when you go through this course, so like today when you go through, and today the day when you start, okay, it will be a different day to you. And you go through this 18 days course, and I'm sure every day you're looking forward for the day. And it changes the perspective of your day. And when Albert Einstein is again a great scientist. He is a scientist and he believes so much in science. But when he was asked about Gita, he says, when I read Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. So he is the guy who gave us the theory of relativity, and etc. And then like he's so much into science, but he says like still God created this universe. He did not say science created the universe. He said like God created the universe. Okay, so there are great scientists who still believe we all believe that there is the superpower outside, and that's the superpower controls the whole world, whole universe, right? That's it. So why ISKCON's Bhagavad Gita? Why not any other Bhagavad Gita? You get Bhagavad Gita today at every shop. Okay, why do we stick to the ISKCON's way of Bhagavad Gita? Okay, and this is an important question to be answered. So just keep the chat box on here. So why do we say that ISKCON's Bhagavad Gita is the right way to understand it? Okay, so when a phone gets damaged, if you charge it with a broken cable, it gets damaged, right? It cannot use or when you have a broken cable or have a damaged cable with a loose contact, it cannot transfer the data in the right way. So it is now. It is because that when you connect a phone to the, say you are transferring photographs from the mobile to the laptop, what happens is sometimes if the cable is not right, you don't get the right transfer rate, you don't get the right data coming in. There'll be some data which will get missed out. This is all coming because the connection between the laptop and the mobile is not the same. It's not good, right? So it's something the way we look at Bhagavad Gita also. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Shri Krishna initially. It was Krishna who gave the message to Brahma. Brahma gave to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave to the different acharyas of our parampara. So when we come to do that way, so Bhaktivedanta Siddhanta Thakura was given the knowledge by his spiritual master. Bhakti Siddhanta Thakura gave it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada has been giving it to his next level of disciples. And we all follow that chain. So this chain is something like, it is not like when you look at, if you communicate between 10 people, so the first one says something, the second one gives his version, third one gives his own version, fourth one gives his own version. And by the time it reaches the last person, the message that was given is completely different. Do you agree to that point or not? This is a game that's played in most of the corporates or in the colleges even today. You agree? So a message which was given by the person who starts it, that's not the same message at the end that comes. But here in ISKCON, it is not that way. Reason being is, if we are teaching you, we are not teaching you but by just reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is once. Okay, and we have gone through a training toward, we have gone through Bhagavad Gita as a course for more than a year and a half now. And with all that training, with all that learnings, with all that experiences that we have given back, and we have gone through a lot of scrutiny. And with all that messages, that's when we are allowed to teach. Okay, so that's the importance that we need to get. So when we give you the message, it's not my view. It's not definitely not the way I have read Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is the way Bhagavad Gita as it is has been spoken by the Lord Himself, by Krishna Himself. So whatever we tell you is as it is in the book Bhagavad Gita as it is, and this is all that Krishna had spoken, and it is only translated for us to understand it in a better language, in a language of that we understand better. Okay, so that's why Bhagavad Gita as it is, and the way, or that's why ISKCON's Bhagavad Gita, we consider it to be the purest form of Bhagavad Gita that comes through proper discipline succession. Okay. Okay. So Gita is a vast book. So if someone asks me like, how would you complete the whole Gita in 18 days? I think that's not possible. So a systematic study of Gita will take about a year. Okay. Every chapter you need to go through, every shloka you need to go through. It will take more than a year. And in 18 days, we can't do that. So we are focusing on the flow of thoughts between Krishna and Arjuna. Okay, it's a battlefield. And in the battlefield, we have one side we have Krishna, one side we have Arjuna. And they are going to, and Arjuna is in a lot of confusion, whether he has to fight the battle, we'll look at all these confusions further. He has a lot of confusions. Why should I really fight? What is the benefit of me fighting? And as Krishna has to convince him that yes, you have to fight, and why you have to fight. It is destruction. Okay? The war is a destruction. And God says you have to do destruction. Why? So God has to convince Arjuna that, as you hear, Krishna is not in the battlefield, he is not as God. He is as a chariot, he is as a mentor to Arjuna. And he has to mentor Arjuna to fight the war and fight the war for the right cause. Okay? So just to give you an example, like while we look at the war as one of the situation, we look at everyday life. Okay? Just for give you an example of it, waking up early in the morning. So how many of you found it difficult to wake up early in the morning today? Can you please say yes, no on the chat box? How many of you found it difficult to wake up in the morning? Okay, we have Mayank who says no, Ganesh Patil yes, yes, Mike me slightly yes. So see, when we have it early in the morning, there is a lot of, we always like when we have to wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, We just think, why don't we sleep for 10 more minutes? Why don't we put it on the snooze? How many of you put it on the snooze today? So this happens. This is something like you would happen. This is a thought that is happening in our mind. Okay. So when this happens, the mind says, no, it's okay. You can sleep for another 10 minutes, 5 minutes. The class is at 6 o'clock. You don't have to join it at 5:45. We know they are going to chant the Maha Mantra for 10, 15 minutes. Then the class is going to start. I can always join. You can always say like, okay, 5 minutes later joining in the class, probably they're just going to talk something early in the day, so something basics. And I think we can join 5 minutes later in the day. These are all things that happen in our mind. This is nothing but a war of mind and thoughts happening in our mind, in our brains. Okay, there's something, a Kurukshetra war happening inside. Now, how do you come out of it? How do you get out of that confusion and you start the day? You wake up early in the morning and say, no, I'm starting. So that's the clarity that you have to have. And when you have that clarity, that brings him, that's the way Krishna will mentor you. Does that help? Does that help you guys to understand a little better? Just to relate it to everyday morning life. So waking up itself is something that is a big confusion that is happening in our mind. Okay. So this study, this 18 days course is not something like we give you everything about Gita. We only give you basics about Gita. We are only preparing you for a deeper study of Gita. Just give you an overview of it. Okay. So what is happening here? So that's what I do. Arjuna is in a confused state, and appearance of illusion must be understood to be Krishna's arrangement. So this is Krishna is God. Okay. Here Krishna is a mentor to Arjuna, but Krishna is God. So this is a confusion state. It is not something like Arjuna has directly been pushed into. It's a scenario. It's a setup that Krishna has created for him to be in this confused state. If not Arjuna's confusion, the bewilderment, there would have been no necessity for Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita to rescue him. Although Arjuna is the apparent first listener of the Bhagavad Gita, it is for the benefit of everyone. So Krishna has made it a situation, he's created the situation wherein Arjuna is in a confused state, and so that Krishna can speak the Bhagavad Gita to him. It is a setup that Krishna has created in the midst of Kurukshetra war. So we all believe that everything happens because of the God's arrangement. So here it is something the similar way. Okay. So though it is for Krishna, it's spoken to Arjuna, it is not a message that was given only to Arjuna. God has created the situation so that he can give this message of Bhagavad Gita to everybody, so that people can follow. See, if had it been only to Arjuna, Krishna spoke so many words during the Mahabharata war to Arjuna. Not everything is recorded, right? Not everything is spoken as a message. The 45 minutes in which he gave the message of Bhagavad Gita to Krishna is all that we speak. Do you agree? It's all that the 45 minutes of Bhagavad Gita that was given between that discussion between Krishna and Arjuna. And that's all that is being spoken of. Okay. So what happens is, like Arjuna is in a confused state, and Arjuna says, Krishna, can you take the chariot to the middle of the battlefield where I can see both the armies? So I want to see who's fighting on my side and who is fighting on the opposite side. So Krishna drove the chariot in the middle of the both armies. Arjuna was in a difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra, surrendered to Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So he says, see, like this is the situation that we are on every day. So we are in the middle, and there's one side, the right thoughts that come in and say, this is good to do it like this. So when you are on a signal, traffic light signal, and it says like, you're just coming closer to the traffic light signal, and it says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it goes red. Okay, there's one side of the mind that says, it's good, it's 5 seconds more. You may not be able to pass the traffic signal. There might be someone, pedestrian, who might be crossing. Please stop. It's only 5 seconds, you can't stop. There's the other side of the mind which says, there are 5 seconds. Now it's good, if you speed up a little more, you can pass the signal. Okay. and there's no one, it's a signal, and if someone comes in between, it's his fault. Does this happen to everybody? Happens to everybody, right? Whoever drives a vehicle, it happens to everybody. Sorry, I just close the chat box, so I just scroll it down. Yeah. So when this happens, I think we all are going to take this child. We're going to go through this on a day-to-day basis. So this is where that is happening. So we are here in the middle of the battlefield, middle of the confused state. So here again, Arjuna is something. He is in that kind of a confused state. He is in between the armies of the Pandavas and the armies of Kauravas. So he's between, and he says, now this side is again my relatives. On the right, I have my relatives. On the left, again, I have my relatives. Whom am I fighting? Why am I fighting? All these are confusions that Arjuna is having, and he asks Krishna, Krishna, I can't take it anymore. You tell me what to do. I completely surrender to you. When that happens is when Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita. So every journey begins with a single step, and let's begin the journey into the mysticism of Gita. So I welcome you to now the confused state in which Arjuna is, and every day we are going to be in. So Sarva Upanishado Gavu, Dhoga Gopala Nandana, Partho Vatsa, Sudhir Bhokta, Duktham Gita Mritam Mahat. So which says, all the Upanishads are like cow, and the milker of the cow is Sri Krishna himself, the son of Nanda. Arjuna is the calf, the beautiful nectar of Gita is the milk, and the fortunate devotees of fine theatic intellect are the drinkers and enjoyers of that milk. So Upanishads are like all these messages. Gita is again an Upanishad. Gita Upanishad is one of the highest Upanishads that we can have, and that is like the cow. Okay, a cow gives milk, and who is the milker is Sri Krishna. Okay, who is the son of Nanda. Arjuna is the calf. Arjuna is like the small baby cow, the calf which is drinking this milk. Okay, and we are all fortunate enough. See, like calf drinks a part of the milk and leaves it for all others to enjoy. Have you seen that? The cow gives so much of milk, not everything is taken by the calf itself. When we have been kids, and when we get the milk from our mothers, so what happens is like we take all the milk. We don't give it to everybody, right? But the cow is something which, though it took the calf took some part of the milk, it makes sure that everybody else also gets the milk. So that's how we are. So we are all enjoyers of the milk that the cow gives, and we are all enjoyers of the knowledge that Krishna gave to Arjuna. And Arjuna made sure that not everything doesn't stay only with him. Everything also goes to the rest of the people, and everybody in the world enjoys it. So that's the reason why the Bhagavad Gita was not spoken to everybody. Bhagavad Gita could have been spoken to Duryodhana. But what would have Duryodhana done? He would have not even spoken that message to anybody else. But Arjuna is not that way. So Krishna chose the right person in the Kurukshetra battlefield, and he gave the Bhagavad Gita, the message of Bhagavad Gita to that person, so that he makes sure that the message goes to everybody in the world. Right? Do you see anybody else other than Arjuna who could actually would have given this message? No, right? Okay. So just to give you some statistics, see, like we are all youngsters, so we know we like the numbers a lot, right? So we can ask like how many shlokas that is the Bhagavad Gita have. Bhagavad Gita has 700 shlokas. Okay, 700 shlokas in total. Okay. So how many did Krishna speak? Krishna speak 574 shlokas. How much did Arjuna speak? 84. How much did Sanjaya speak? Sanjaya spoke 41 shlokas. And Dhritarashtra, he spoke only one. The first shloka of Bhagavad Gita was by Dhritarashtra. Okay, and in the first chapter, you don't have any shlokas by Krishna. It is Dhritarashtra who asks the question, Sanjaya who answers it, and the answers to the questions, and Arjuna is asking the questions to Krishna. So first chapter is nothing, observing the armies of the battlefield. And the second chapter is almost the whole of Gita. The whole of Gita is summarized in chapter 2. You learn, you know the chapter 2 completely. I think you have completely understood Gita, but it is not so easy. So to understand chapter 2 comes the rest of the 16 chapters. So we have the Karma Yoga. What should you do? What is the transcendental knowledge that we should have? So what are the actions you should do to be Krishna consciousness? What is Sankhya Yoga? The knowledge of the absolute truth, how to attain the supreme knowledge. What is the most confidential knowledge in life? So that is also spoken here. The opulence of the absolute, the universal form of Krishna. Okay, the devotional service. How do you serve the God? So the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. The three models of modes of material nature. Yoga of the supreme person, divine and demonic natures. The division of faith. Okay, you always have this like whether I have to follow Krishna, whether I have to follow Shiva, whether I have to follow Ganesha. It's all clearly specified here. What is the role of each god in this universe? Okay, we'll talk about it in detail. And in conclusion, we'll say what is the perfect path of renunciation. You can see there are a lot of chapters. The first chapter has got 47 shlokas. We'll try to do it today. And the second chapter is 72 shlokas. It's a much longer chapter, so we'll take a little longer time. So we will keep balancing that, and we'll also do some of the other personality development courses. Okay. Okay. So the first chapter is going to be divided like this. We'll have the introduction, we'll have the preparation of war, we'll see what are the signs of victory that is being seen as going to be there. Why on the Duryodhana side, Dhritarashtra will always have a doubt like whether they are going to win. And he's always having this doubt in his mind. So why he has this doubt? And Krishna is Bhaktavatsala, we'll also talk about that. And we'll say what are the reasons why Arjuna doesn't want to fight. Yesterday somebody asked, what is the confusion? So we'll go through that also. Okay. So Arjuna's yoga of lamentation is what we're going to go through. So there are different reactions for the same situation. So like, see, when in the middle of the battlefield, Arjuna is in a confused state, whether he has to fight the war. On one side, there is Dhritarashtra. He is doubtful of victory. The other side, there is Duryodhana, who has created, who's the architect, who's created all these problems. And he wants to fight, and he wants to make sure that he wins. He is only concerned about his victory. It's about his selfish motives. Okay, so that's how our mind normally plays. We are in the confused state in between. One side it says, "Come what may, you're going to win." Okay, come what may, I'm going to win. That is on the Duryodhana side. On the other side, it's like, are you really going to win? That's the confused state of Dhritarashtra, and we are in between. Okay, and whom do we rely? We only rely on Krishna for it. But the first sloka of Bhagavad Gita goes like this: Dhritarashtra Vacha. Dhritarashtra Vacha means Dhritarashtra. It's the words of Dhritarashtra. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yudhsavaha mamakaha pandavaschaiva kimakurvat sanjaya. So he's asking, like, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in the Punya Bhumi of Kurukshetra, what are my sons and the sons of Pandus? What are they doing? Okay, so it is, see, like when you have milk, okay, and you do a lot of dishes with milk, and what all that needs to spoil, what all that you need to spoil a milk, you can have liters and liters of milk. What is all that is required to spoil the milk? A drop of lime. You agree? A small drop of lime is enough, and the whole milk gets spoiled. Okay, but the spoiled milk can also be used as a better option. Maybe we can make sweets out of it, we can make paneer out of it. So it is like that. Even if the milk is spoiled, you can still go ahead and change it. But what it takes to all spoil the whole milk, it is one drop of lime. And how many of you go and modify the milk to do something like paneer or something? It takes a lot of effort, right? As a milk, it is pure. And once you contaminate it, to make it useful further, there's a lot of effort which goes into it. And once you are spoiled, today we are all at a situation where from the milk we have already had the drop of wine. And to make us something useful, we have to go through a lot of modifications, lot of knowledge, lot of positive messages that has to go through. So what is that we are getting? That is nothing but the Gita. Okay, so all that effort, we need to take that effort so that we can become useful again. How many of you agree to it? So that's how we should look at. So we'll have to do this, do this. We'll have to go through this. It is something like the cocoon and the silk. Okay, and the butterfly has to go through the journey of being from a cocoon to a butterfly. I think it goes through a lot of struggle, and that struggle makes it worth it, because at the end of it, it becomes a butterfly. It gains a new life, and I think we need to go through that. Okay. So that's Dharma Kshetri. So, okay. So that is Dharma Kshetri. Mamaka Pandavaha is the line that is like, Mamaka is so selfish. Right? It says like mine, and Pandus, the others. Okay, so that's how Dhritarashtra has been explaining it. Oh, my teacher, behold the greatest armies of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So now what happens is, when the army is said, when Duryodhana sees this army, Duryodhana is a little disturbed. And he says like, the army, he goes to Dronacharya. Dronacharya is, who's Dronacharya? Dronacharya is the teacher. Dronacharya is the one who taught both the sons of Pandu and the sons of Dhritarashtra. Okay, the whole army was taught by Dronacharya himself. And we'll have to see, like, you don't see teachers coming and writing exams, right? Do you see teachers writing exams along with you? And Dronacharya is someone who came and he had his own commitments to the Kuru dynasty, to the kingdom of Kauravas, and he had his own commitment, due to which he had also to be part of this war. He also had to be part of this war, and he was on the side of Duryodhana. He knew he was not on the right side, but he had his commitments, he had his word, and you know that back in all old days, so the word of mouth was so important. It was more than an agreement on paper. Even today, when you see, there are a lot of moral values, right? So there are people who would have already given an agreement that they will do it, and on the paper, but they would not do it. Reason being is, they'll say, I have given him my word, and my word stands stronger than what is on the paper. How many of you have seen such kind of an arrangements? I've seen companies, organizations, like I've been working with many organizations. I've seen organizations, because when they started when they started their organizations, because some bank or someone who helped them, or bank manager or someone who helped them, the banks still live in the same offices or the premises of the organization which owns that land, and they pay a rent as low as 1 rupee. Have you heard of something like that? That's because they have given the owner of the land, the organization, gave them a commitment. They said, like, we will not charge you rent throughout our life. So that's, and they still have the agreements going on throughout the year. And the paper still says, for the past 50, 60 years, they've been paying a rent of 1 rupee. Okay, that's the way the word is. So here, the Dronacharya gave the word to the Kuru dynasty, and because of which he is in the war, in the middle of the war. And he says, Duryodhana comes and says, see what you have done. You have created all these problems, and look at the way they have arranged the army. So you taught them how to arrange the army. And Drupada, the son of Drupada, has made the army so look past. They are a very small army in front of the Kaurava army. The Pandus have a very small army, but look at the way they've arranged. So now you can see Duryodhana is already in a confused state. He is already doubting his victory. He's got the largest army, but he's doubting his victory. You see that when you are confident on your activities, but you still have something behind your mind. That's because Duryodhana's kind of a mindset is always there in us. He said because he is not patient enough. He's not kind. He's not understood. He doesn't have the confidence by his side. He doesn't have Krishna by his side, and he's afraid of things. So look at the fear on his face. So these are all paintings that come so beautifully, and these are all paintings by devotees. Okay. So then there's the conches which are blown by different people. Okay. Sagosho Dhadarashtratam, Dhararashtam, Hridayin Vidara, Nabhascha Pratvim Chaiva, Tumulo Bahunan Dhyan. Sorry, Tumulo Bhayanu Dhyan, correct. So when the blowing of these different conches became uproarious and thus vibrating above the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. So what happens is everybody on the Kuru side, Bhishma blows the conch shell, Duryodhana blows the conch shell. There are different kings on the Duryodhana side who are also blowing the conch shells. Conch shells is nothing but the shank that they blow. Okay? And when it comes to the Pandava side, when everybody blows the conch shell, there's so much of confidence, there's so much of uproar. And when they blow, everybody blows the conch shells together, it actually starts vibrating on the earth and the sun. So much of vibration. And that creates a fear on the side of Duryodhana. So you understand, like when you join together, and when you pray as together, or when you start shouting together, what happens is it gives a fear on the opposite side. So you've seen these a lot of movies on wars, right? What happens when there is an attack, when they'll have to open and then they just go for an open attack? What happens is everybody starts shouting together. So what happens is when they shout together, it gives a fear on the opposite side because they'll not be able to estimate the correct number of people. And when the shout is so loud, they do not know whether there's 100 people, there are 1,000 people on that side. So that's how the conch shells, when everybody on the Pandava side blew it together, it shattered the minds of the Duryodhana side. So now we will look at the 5 reasons why Arjuna is going to be victorious. So one is Dharmakshetra. So they are in the field of Kurukshetra, and Kurukshetra is a Punyasthal. It is a place where Dharma will be established, and Dhritarashtra knows he's not on the side of Dharma, right? So he's not on the side of Dharma. He knows Dharmakshetra is not the right place for the war, and he knows they might certainly lose it. So he has that fear. The second one is the divine chariot. The chariot that Arjuna was sitting on was given by the Surya Deva. And it's a divine chariot. It was the fastest chariot in the whole war scenario. So what happens when you have the fastest chariot is you can move across to get anywhere. So what happens is even in today's warfare, they always look at speed. They want the fastest aircrafts, they want the fastest battle tanks, they want the fastest missiles, right? So it's something like that. So it's the fastest chariot on the whole battlefield. And that can change the equation between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So that's how the chariot is so important there. The Kapidvaja, you can see the flag on the top of Arjuna's chariot. What do you see on the chariot, on the flag? Can you please type on the message, or you can unmute and tell me? What do you see on the flag?
Hanumanji.
Correct. It's the Kapidvaja. It is Hanuman. Lord Hanuman was on the flag of the chariot. And Lord Hanuman means, what is Lord Hanuman known for? He's known for his knowledge, he's known for his wisdom, he's known for his strength, he's known for his fearlessness, he's known for his patience, he's known for his courage, he's known for all those, right? And when Hanuman is by his side, And I think everybody is going to be by his side. All the qualities of Hanuman is going to be there. Okay. So this is the third quality. And the Shankanada, the conch shell that was blown. So that's something that has given so much of confidence. And you can see the confidence in the way the portrait has been made, the painting has been made. You can have so much of confidence in both Krishna and Arjuna. So Arjuna is like he's carefree and he's going to fight it because he's got Krishna by his side. Okay. Then Gandhiva. So Gandhiva is the bow, the bow which Arjuna is carrying. Gandhiva is the bow which was given by Brahmadeva himself to Arjuna. So that is because when the Gandhiva bow is taken and he starts firing from that becomes one of the strongest weapons. Okay, so that's with Gandhiva is by Arjuna's side. So these are all fears that have been created on the Kaurava side. Duryodhana is looking at all this and he's slowly having this fear slowly coming up to him. Then Tyaga Jivita. So who's there by his side? Tyaga Jivita is something like when Krishna is there and Arjuna is, when he's heard the message of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is not fighting for everything. Is he fighting for the land? No. Is he fighting for himself? No. He is just he's ready to sacrifice his life. So what happens when people are not caring about their lives? They'll do anything, right? When he says like, I'm already dead, I'm okay to die. Okay, and I'm going to fight for this. That's what happens when our soldiers on the border also fight, right? They have said, they assume when they go to war that we're already dead. And they go fight all out. And they have no restriction. They'll go whatever to win the war. They'll go fight for everything. So here, Arjuna has come to that stage. He's like, I'm not fighting for anything. I'm not fighting to live. I'm fighting because it's my duty to fight. And I have nothing to lose. So when you are in that situation, you can do anything, right? So that's the biggest advantage that Arjuna has. Whereas on the side of Duryodhana, he is fighting for the kingdom, he is fighting for his family, he is fighting for himself. He's got so many purpose for fighting. Here Arjuna has got nothing. He says, I'm just fighting. I'm just fighting for dharma. So that's why when you have nothing to lose, you are the most dangerous person in the battlefield. Okay. And it's the day of Moksha Ekadasi. Moksha Ekadasi is a very special day. And Ekadasi, we will talk about it when we have Ekadasi that comes up shortly. And we will talk more about Ekadasi on that day. And Moksha Ekadasi is a very special day, which gives a lot of positive energy. And it's on that day when the battle is fought. I think that's again on an advantage of Dharma's side. And Bhagya Lakshmi, when Krishna is there, who's Lakshmi? She's wife of Krishna, of Narayana, right? So when Krishna is there, Lakshmi is by his side also. So that's the reason why Bhagya Lakshmi is also by his side. And all these are reasons just to add. But the biggest reason, what is the biggest reason for the confidence of Arjuna? Who's by his side?
Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna himself, Rishikesha himself. So when Krishna is by his side, whom do you want? When you imagine like when you are going to our exams and there is God sitting next to you and he's like, don't worry boy, I'm going to help you on everything. So are you going to be feared? Absolutely not, right? So whenever you go to an exam and then like you find it temperamental, what do you say? If God save me somehow this exam just get cleared. So this is how we do. When we go to work, like God, please make sure today that it's going to be a good day for me. That's all that we do. And when God himself says, I am with you, I think that gives the complete message. So that's Rishikesha by his side. So now, the 5 reasons why Arjuna is not wanting to go for war. One is the compassion. So he says, like, Krishna, look at the other side. It is all my own relatives, my own uncles, my own brothers and brothers who are on that side. So why would I go and do this war? I'm sure if I'm going to go this war, I'm going to kill a lot of people. Okay, what happens is like if I kill everybody, there is a lot of people who are going to a lot of kids who are going to become orphans, a lot of women who are going to be widows. What is the enjoyment in that? I'm not going to enjoy any of those. That's the second thought he has. He says like it is a sin to do it, Krishna. It is a sin to kill so many people, make so many kids orphans, so many women widow. So like, is it? Why should I do it? It's such a sin. He says that we'll destroy all family traditions. There's a strong feeling like when all the male go away and there's all the females, we make all the females widow, the whole family tradition is gone. Whole kids will have no fathers to look at. I mean, there's no fathers to look at, and then like there'll be haywire everywhere. So like they'll not know what to do. The whole family tradition is lost. He says all this is creating an indecision in the mind of Arjuna, and he doesn't want to go for the war. So now you understand what are the confusions in the mind of Arjuna. He's got no motivation. His compassion is. He says like it's on the opposite side. It's my relatives. You don't want to kill them. There's no enjoyment in that. What would you see? Like all your relatives are sad, and will you be happy? All relatives, friends being sad, and will you be happy? No, right? And it's a sin. It's a sin to do all this. So this is what he says, Krishna. Why should I fight? Why should I go do all this? So does that answer to what you people were asking yesterday? Why does us, what is the confusion that he has? This is the confusion that he has. Okay, compassion, no enjoyment, sin, family traditions, and indecision. So now, observing the battlefield, so like we're just summarizing the whole chapter. Okay, we are almost at the end of the chapter. I'm just summarizing this chapter. So it is Dhritarashtra's inquiry, Kim Akurvat. Then it says Duryodhana's fear, Mahitim, Jaham Vidunam, Vyudham. Oh, sorry. He says, look at the Duryodhana's fear is like, look at the war formation, the battlefield formation that the Pandavas have done. So blowing of the conch shells, it is a strong blowing of the conch shells, wherein the earth and the sky started vibrating. It is so strong vibrating of the conch shells. Arjuna's observation, and they're like, so Arjuna has been looking carefully at the battlefield, and he has the Gandiva with the bow of Brahma with him, and Arjuna's reasons not to fight. So these are confusions that he has. This is a summary of the chapter. The first shloka, between 2 and 11, Duryodhana's fear. Between 12 and 19, it is the blowing of the conch shells by each person, and it clearly explains like who's blowing the conch shell, what is the significance of that conch shell, and when they blow it together, what is the significance. Arjuna's observation between 20 and 27. So he's like looking at Arjuna's fear. What are the signs of his victory? What does he have? How he is so confident, etc. And Arjuna's reasons not to fight are between 28 and 46. Okay. So any questions until here? People have any questions? I'll be happy to take. So do we start with what I would suggest is we should start with something like the personality development. Maybe I'll do 15 minutes of it, and then we'll take 15 minutes for questions. Is that fine? All are in for it? Yeah, I want you guys to respond to it so that like I'm confident of taking, and then like I know that okay, people are going to stay. Okay. So I think I have an answer from most of you guys. That's nice. So we'll close at 7:30, but then like we'll just try to see whatever we can cover. So we'll do a quick session. See, like Prabhupada has always been a believer that it's not only Gita that we teach. We always teach them people the way Gita explains and the way we can convert our life towards Gita. we can get the message of Gita and put Gita's use to us. Put the Gita's messages for use to us. So human intellect is developed for advancement of learning in the art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, economics, politics, etc. By the culture of such knowledge, and the human society can attain perfection of life. This perfection of life culminates the realization of the Supreme Being. This is not words that Prabhupada has told, it is what is in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is another epic book, epic series of books which were written by Vyasadeva. And Srila Prabhupada translated the words of Vyasadeva also to English and other languages, English, Bengali, and many, many languages so that everybody could understand it. Okay. So here you can see there's no subject that is left out. There's arts, there is science, there's psychology, physics, chemistry, there is philosophy, there is economics, politics, and something that every subject is covered. So we'll now look at the IQ, EQ, and SQ quotient. What we are more looking to, what we'll be focusing on, maybe we'll do that tomorrow, is on the SQ, which is the spiritual quotient. Okay, we have something called the IQ, the intelligence quotient. We have something called the EQ, which is the emotional quotient, and we'll teach you something like the SQ, which is the spiritual quotient. We see how we can apply the spiritual quotient to improve our IQ and EQ. Okay, so all people know the IQ, right? So we all know IQ is the overall capacity to think rationally and act purposefully and to deal effectively with one's environment. So it is like just when you go to a scenario and how do you react to it. So what is the IQ that we look at? There'll be some videos.
Show me where Michigan is. Yes, good girl. Smarty pants dance, smarty pants dance. All right, come here. Show me where Florida is.
So you see the kid jumping, and then when the kid's father tells, where is Michigan, where is Texas, where is the different parts, with different states of the USA, the kids start jumping. Have you tried this in your family also? Maybe your kids or like your brother, the small kids in your family. When you tell them, where is, can you tell me where is Delhi? They just show and then they start jumping. This is something that happens everywhere. And this shows that the child is able to grasp what information that you're giving and then it reacts to it. Right? And that's how they are trying to, that's how their knowledge grows and their IQ grows. Okay, the higher the person's IQ, the theory says the higher is their intelligence, right? Okay, so can you differentiate between the cow and the baby? Can anyone quickly tell me what is the difference between a cow and a baby? Maybe you can unmute yourself and quickly tell me. What is the difference? Guys, you need to be a little more active.
Cow
Okay.
gives milk.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Cow gives milk, sir, but baby doesn't.
Yeah, the cow drinks water and makes milk, whereas a baby drinks milk and makes water. This is something like just for the thought of, this is something like the way people will ask. These are general questions on IQ, okay? So how can you drop a raw egg onto a concrete floor without cracking? 5 seconds for the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After boiling is something that people say, okay. So it's something like that. Concrete floors are very hard to crack. We always focus on the egg. Okay? We are always focusing on the egg. It's the concrete floor which needs to be cracked. So you can always change the perspective. So when you see the answer, your perspective changes, right? Say, look, okay, this is not the question about the egg. It is actually the question about the concrete. So that's how the IQ changes. That's the IQ. Can you spell a mousetrap in 3 letters? 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you trap a mouse in 3 letters? Put a cat. Okay, cat is going to trap it. Is there going to be a better trap than a cat to trap a mouse? No, right? So that's how we are looking at it. What is the perfect way to cure dandruff? I think this many of you will get.
By using shampoo.
No. Exactly. Someone answered on the chat box. Remove the hair. Baldness. If you're bald, if there's no hair, there's no problem of dandruff, right? So that's how it is. So this is the bell curve through which the IQ is going to be like. When the IQ improves, IQ increasing on the higher side. This is the average. Like most of the people, more than 50% of the people are here where the IQ is below 100. And when there are very few people who are at IQ of 190 or something, and most of the people are here or below this, and we'll see where we will be normally. Okay, so this is an average, and we are. How many of you are engineers? How many of you are professionals? How many are educated graduates? So you're all in this area, like 120 to 125 or 120 to 132. So here is like manager, professors, accountants. People are going to become more towards the physics and more going to be engineers. They're going to be editors, executives, PhDs, and those people. So like people are at the graduate to higher levels are here. And see, you also see like as your education increases, your IQ is also increasing. You see that difference happening? And we are all at this age. At this age, and when we are done our graduation, we are done our masters, when we are done our PhDs, we are on the top. We are on the top 15, 20, or maybe top 20, 25%. Okay. Okay. So we look at the emotional quotient also. So in general, emotional quotient is an array of skills that influences one's ability to succeed in coping with environmental demands and pressures. When there's a pressure around, when your mom says like, come on, wake up, come on, wake up, come on, eat fast, come on, eat fast. What happens is you just you just wake up with an anger, right? That's an emotional feeling that comes out. When someone says, read for exam, read, study, what you do? You just go read. You don't understand. You just go read for the sake of reading it, right? So that's how the emotional quotient is. So we'll understand how to get over the emotional quotient also. So I'll not go through this video. This is a copyrighted video. I'll not go through. You have seen this a video before on the Lead India tree on YouTube, wherein there's a child who takes over a tree when everybody is sitting around, and then they're just watching. There's a small child which goes and tries to move that tree, and he knows he cannot move it, but he tries. And when he tries, everybody joins him, and when everybody joins him, the tree is removed from that. The tree as an obstacle on the road is removed. So many of you would have seen this video, right? Otherwise, you can always go check it on YouTube. It says Times of India Lead India Tree. It's a 2-minute short video. Okay, in the mid-90s, researchers of many neuroscientists and psychologists showed the EQ is of equal importance. It's not something that we are saying, okay? It's a scientifically proven methodology. And it says emotional quotient is very important. Okay, emotions actually bringing a lot of anger. And what you see as an emotion or the people is just 20% of the iceberg. The 80% of iceberg is under the water. What you see is something is only 20% of the emotions or that we see or that people see out of the people is very small part. Okay, what do you see is nothing but their accomplishments, their skills, their experience, their training. What you don't see is how self-aware they are, how self-regulated they are, how motivated they are, how much of empathy they have, what are their social skills, what is their capacity, what is their acumen. Okay, these are required for long-term success. What you see is all for short-term success. Do you think that you get a graduation and you'll be successful in life? How many of you believe so? Just a graduation is enough to be successful in life. No, right? It is something. So it is like a lot of knowledge that we get, a lot of regret. How many of you have seen like people who have got no knowledge, no graduation, not knowledge, no educational qualifications, but have been very successful in life. You've seen many people like that, right? So which shows which is the 80% of the iceberg which is under the water. The self-awareness, regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills, capacity, and acumen. They don't have the skills and behaviors. They don't have the accomplishments. So when we go to office today, we say like, oh, you'll have to be wearing a coat and a suit. You'll have to be on a plain shirt because there are visitors coming in. But what does that all say? It only tells you the 20% of what you are outside, what you dress, what you look like. But what is inside? What is your knowledge? What is your skills? What is your motivation? What is your regulation? Those are things that are hidden inside the dress that you wear, right? So that is more important. So you work on that. What comes out will automatically be different. Okay. So EQ, low emotional intelligence, high emotional intelligence, we're just giving you a brief of what it is. When it is a low emotional intelligence, people become aggressive, demanding, egoistic, and bossy, and confrontational. When they are on a high on the emotional intelligence, they're strong-willed, they're decisive, they're assertive, they're ambitious. They are looking at the long-term picture, they're not looking at the short-term picture. When they're low again, easily they get disturbed, they're distracted, they are in the glib, they are very selfish, they're poor listeners, impulsive. When we are on looking at a long term, they're very enthusiastic, they socialize, they're charming, they're persuasive. They listen to what you say. Okay? The low emotional intelligence people, they are resistant to change, they are passive. They say like when you give them something, they're like, no, I'm already done with it. They are very unresponsive, they're slow, they're stubborn, they say, do what I say. So when you look at the other side, the people are stable, people are patient, they are predictable, consistent, they are good listeners. See, they might still not implement what you say, but they listen to you and they'll come back and tell you, like, okay, I've listened to you, but I'm not implementing it because A, B, C, D, these are the 4 reasons I'm not implementing. So imagine today when you go out to the world, today when you start your day after these classes, someone comes and tells you, listen to them. And if you don't agree to them, persuade them like, yes, I understood what you said. I listened to what you said, but I'm not okay with what you say because I'm not happy with these things. But can you work on an option wherein we can work on these difficulties? Then the way you persuade them changes. They have a different meaning for yourself. Okay, they look at you at a different way. Try to implement some small things in your life, day-to-day life, and this will change. The low emotional guy is critical, he's picky, he's fussy, he's hard to please, and he assumes himself to be a perfectionist. But on the other side, this guy is detailed, he's detail-oriented, he goes to the details of things, he's careful, he's not in a hurry to make decisions, he's meticulous, he's systematic, and he's neat. So he comes back and says, like, imagine if you are in a situation today and if you want to make some decision immediately, don't do it immediately. Just take a 10-second gap, maybe just think over it and then say, okay, I'm going to decide it a little later. Most problems, I keep telling my colleagues and people like, most problems are solved before they're mature. Allow the problems to mature to some extent so that you can go and solve the problem when they're mature. Don't kill the problem in the initial stages itself. The problem might mature, and during the period of time it gets mature, the problem might automatically die, and then the problem may not exist itself. Give the opportunities for the people to solve the problems themselves. Then go and solve it for yourself. If they're not able to solve it, go and solve it for yourself. So be higher on the emotional intelligence side. Take a little more emotional decisions. Take a little more, get a step back on emotionally reacting to it and go and solve it. See, when you see a child walking on the road and suddenly if the child triples and falls, what happens is we all go take care of the child like like we just start rubbing and things. And the child starts crying at that time because he knows that there are people to take care of the child. What do it the other way? When the child falls, don't care about the child. Just leave the child for 10-15 seconds. You'll see the child wakes up, so looks at right, left, and nobody has seen it. He just dusts it and he keeps going. How many of you have seen this happen? So that's the emotional intelligence. Okay, when we are emotional, we are in a hurry to solve the problem. When we are not emotional and we are stable, we say, okay, now the child, it's your day, it's your problem, you solve it yourself. So the child solves it. It is not that the child cries again. He goes and solves that, right? So that's the emotional intelligence we are talking of. Okay, emotional EQ is responsible for 58% of your on-job performance. 90% of the high performers have a very good high emotional intelligence. You'll see the top people, they don't take decisions so fast. You are always like, these guys don't take decisions. Yeah, these guys don't do it fast. So that's because they are high on their emotional intelligence and they take their time to do it. They're not in a hurry to do the decisions. And effectively, at the end of it, it pays. There's a study which also says people with a higher EQ make $29,000 more annually than their low EQ counterparts. Okay, this is for some other country, maybe not the same for India, but then the value will remain the same proportion. Okay. Okay, so what does EQ do? It increases your leadership ability, increases your team performance, improves your decision making, increases your personal well-being, reduces the staff turnover, and it decreases occupational stress, right? So now, negative pessimistic individual with an IQ of 120 than a positive optimistic attitude. A person with an IQ of 100 will earn more success. You see that? An IQ of 120 who's very intelligent, but he doesn't have the emotional quotient for it, but who's got a stable mind, who's emotionally strong, even with an IQ of 100, he's going to do wonders. Lord Macaulay, in his speech in the British Parliament, he said, I have traveled across the length and breadth of India, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. How many of you have heard this? This is there in almost every old museums of India. And this person, Lord Macaulay, has traveled across India, and he gave this feedback to the kingdom, to the British kingdom. Okay, such is the wealth I have seen in this country, such as high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do think that we would ever conquer this the country unless we break the very backbone of this country, of this nation, which is a spiritual and cultural heritage. So what did they do? What did they want to break? They said English is the language, right? They said your cultures are superstitious. Your cultures are not the right way to do it. We will tell you what to do it the right way. Did that not happen for the past 250, 300 years when they're under the British rule? That's what happened, right? Therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for an Indians to think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own. Our dressings changed, the way we speak has changed, the language that we speak has changed. All that has changed. That's all because they will lose their self-esteem and their native self-culture, and they will become what we truly want them to become, a truly dominated nation. So they want to dominate. What did they want? They brought in the Western cultures. Smoking came in, dressing came in, drinking habits came in. These are not something that were there before, right? These are all things that have come over the period these days. And today we say Western culture is the best, and we are happy with the Western culture, right? Someone has written. Even today, people are happy with Westernization in India. That's right. So that's the reason why you guys are here. You want to know what is important, what is good, right? And that is what we'll teach you. And we'll try to solve these ethical dilemmas. And how do we solve this? See, it's something like here, like someone is asking whether he is dead. Someone is dead and say, like, oh, so is she dead yet? So I don't know why we have to wait. Can we go? See, like, this is what happens. So when someone is dead and then like someone is waiting, the culture says like, see, he's already dead. So why are we still waiting? So just clean things up and we keep going. Our culture doesn't do that. When there's people in sorrow, we go share the sorrow. When people are happy, we go share the happy. We have so many festivals. Not many religions, many countries have so many festivals. Why do we have so many festivals? That's because we get to meet our friends and family very, very frequently. And we share their happiness and sorrows. Right? How many of you believe that? When we go and have a festival, when we celebrate it with our family, we have our own problems and we forget the problem, we start celebrating, right? Why does that happen? Because we share these sorrows and happiness in the family. So I will not go through all the slides. So you have seen all these happening, right? All these people who have been charged in the corruption, they've all been so selfish. They've been successful in business, and then, but then like at one point in time, everything goes to money and something. People keep moving there. So we've seen all these people happening. Okay, there were people who actually whistled blue, and then we told about people, and we just exposed people, and they were all killed because it's all because of emotional quotient. Because they could not take that happiness. They could not see that someone is trying to. We are taking the happiness of others, and they wanted to be so selfish. Okay, we'll not go through all these slides, because we'll not have time to do it. So what we will do is all these, the emotional and the IQ, led to something called the spiritual quotient. And what is spiritual quotient? We'll try to do it tomorrow. Is that fine? Are you guys finding it interesting? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We are at 7:23. I would request if there are any questions, please ask your questions. We'll take 7 to 8, 10 minutes of your questions, and then we will close the class for today.
Thank you, sir.
So any questions people have? Okay, I see some question. How to increase the EQ? So emotional quotient. So we told you, right? We'll teach you how to increase your EQ through the spiritual quotient. Okay. So what happens? Like you've seen many people you'll see people doing puja early in the morning, right? How many of you have seen? Understand that people do puja early in the morning. What happens in that? One, you go worship the God. But what happens is you take out 15 minutes during the day, start of the day. It's the day which is going to be very busy for the whole for the next 24 hours or 12 to 18 hours of your day. You wake up, you're going to be very busy. It's going to be very fast. But what you're doing is when you're starting your day, say, no, I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause for 15 minutes. I'm going to worship the God. I'm going to meditate on the God. So what happens is on the fast page, you suddenly put a break. What happens when you go on a highway, when you're speeding at 100, 90, 100, 120, and suddenly there's a barricade in between, and you have to slow down and you do it. You lose your whole rhythm, right? And you again have to start from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. What happens is you again slow down. That is what the spiritual quotient does to the EQ. So when you start your day, you're woken up, you're brush your teeth, you're just bathe in, and then you're going to hurry for your breakfast and say, it's fast. Let me pause, spend 10 minutes with the God, meditate on the God, and then I break the whole rhythm. Then again, you'll have to get back to that speed. You see that happening? People agree to it? Yes. So what happens when people come back from office in the evening? Some people also go, I'm going to meditate for the next 10-15 minutes. When you do that, what happens is whatever tensions you had in the day from work or from college, you break everything, and then you come back and patiently do a meditation for 15 minutes, and the whole rhythm is broken. Then when you start a day with your family, because it's probably the first few hours of the day when you start with your family, and you end the day with your family. So when you have a break in between that, so that changes the whole rhythm, and you come up with a much calm, and it improves your emotional quotient at that point. Okay, so that's what we are talking about. That's the spiritual question that we will discuss tomorrow. Any other questions, please? Okay, so if there are no further questions, what I would request you is today's quiz, you please take up the chapter 1 quiz. I believe everybody is enrolled in the website, right? The ISKCON Mangalore website. I believe all of you have enrolled and all of you have taken the day 0 quiz. If you have not taken, please make sure you take your day 0 quiz today. Please make sure you also take your day 1 quiz today. Complete the day 0 and day 1 quiz. The quiz is mainly based not on the emotional quotient, the SQ, IQ, and EQ. It is more based only on the Bhagavad Gita course that we saw in the first part of the day, first part of the class. So that is all the quiz is going to be, and it is going to be really helpful to everybody. And I believe everybody is going to take the exams today. The quiz today is not going to take more than 5 to 8 minutes. It will be fast. It's only 8 or 12 questions that we will have, and you'll be able to complete it very fast. You can do it on your mobile and you can quickly complete it. Okay, so in that case, I'll go to the last slide and we'll close the class for today. Shri Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubheva Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. If you still have any questions, you can always write to me on WhatsApp, or maybe you can reserve your questions for tomorrow and we can take up. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Have a good day.
Thank you.